Network.
Make sure you got the mic too. You get that, so you know you. Yeah.
All right, let me make this caption real quick, and then y'all do
Happy Monday, everybody.
All right,
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Yeah, you good though. And welcome to Wise Guys. These guys know sports on this Monday, June the 28th. Another day with the Wise Guys crew. I'm Trey Larkins, sitting alongside my co-host, Mr. Clarence Dixon. What's up, Clarence?
Happy Monday, man.
Happy Monday to you. Everybody remember go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_OH. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Mr. Nixon, how was your weekend, sir?
Man, the weekend was fun, though. You know, I enjoyed myself, getting ready for the 4th. And, this weekend was exciting, man. I enjoyed myself, spent time with my daughter. How about you, man?
It's pretty good, man. I got a chance to watch some NBA playoff basketball. Saturday morning, I went and had a workout. I'm still sore of that workout, man. When you get to be in your 30s, man, it ain't the same no more. You work out.
I actually heard the bones crack in that video when you was hitting them. I'm like, okay, then.
Yeah, you saw me working out. I posted the video up on social media. For all y'all, got to see me getting it in the gym. But, it ain't the same as when I was 22, man. When I was 23, want to work out, I'll be sore now when I get up in the mornings, man. It take me a couple days to recuperate.
Yeah, anybody seen the difference, man? Your boy Clarence got his glasses, and he ready for showtime, boy.
Yes, sir. We got an action jam-packed show ahead. We're going to talk about the NBA coaching vacancies that has been filled. Clarence Billups is going to be the new coach for the Blazers. Jason Kidd agreed to a new deal with the Dallas Mavericks. Also, Rick Carlisle is returning back to Indiana. Also in the NBA, Chris Bosh had some comments, and he said that the Brooklyn Nets victory would beat the Miami Heat victory in their prime. So we're going to talk about all that later on the show. But we begin in the NBA. In the Eastern Conference Finals was a big matchup last night down in the A as the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Atlanta Hawks 113-102 for the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Middleton was absolutely sensational. He had 38 points, shot 15 of 26 from the floor, 6 of 12 from three-point range. Giannis had his normal 33 points, 11 rebounds. Trae Young had 35 points left in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, after messing up his ankle. So, Clarence, how impressive was this win for your Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, it was important. It was important that the Milwaukee Bucks got this victory. Let me tell you why. It was on the road. It was on the road in a hot Atlanta State Farm Arena where the Atlanta Hawks played at. And I just think Giannis and Chris Middleton, they was on fire, man. I think it set the tone for this series that, hey, we not the same Bucks from the last series when we had to play against a Brooklyn Nets. We want this. So they played like they wanted it more, and they was on point. They executed. The defense was on point. 3-point shooting was looking good. Giannis was finding good shots. Chris Middleton found his groove. Like, it's like Stella found his groove back. Like, I just feel like the Milwaukee Bucks, they did a good job, executing and playing through it. Like, without Trae Young playing in the fourth quarter, they still kept their composure. It was the same game plan. Mike Budenholzer, he had a great game plan for them, enough for them to steal the victory. Now they walking into game 4 feeling like this series is really, they can really take it, and I believe so. I'm happy, Trey.
Yeah, I bet you are happy. My reaction to the Bucks beating the Atlanta Hawks last night was, Milwaukee Bucks, Clarence got lucky in game 3 in Atlanta last night. Let me explain to you why. I'm thinking about all the pressure that was going to be on the Milwaukee Bucks had Trae Young not stepped on that referee's foot and injured his ankle. Because you remember 2 years ago, They lost a 2-0 lead and lost 4 straight games to Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. Then last year in the bubble, they were the favorites against Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. They lost that series and ultimately flamed out early in the playoffs last year. And then you get to this season. They lucked up in the Eastern Conference semifinals when Kyrie Irving twisted his ankle out for the series. And then James Harden decided to come back miraculously, and he was compromised. So it was basically Kevin Durant versus the entire Milwaukee Bucks team. And I felt like they lucked up in that series. And then you go to game 3 last night in Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks balling. Okay, like at one point,
they was balling.
They was balling. At one point in the first quarter, the Atlanta Hawks were beating the Milwaukee Bucks by 15. I think it was like 25
to 15.
They was up 15. But then even when you get later in the game, the Atlanta Hawks, latter part of the third quarter, they were up 2 points. And we heading into the fourth quarter, in a hostile environment. You got Floyd Mayweather in the house. You got Cam Newton, Atlanta native, he in the house. Dwight Howard sitting courtside in the house. And I'm thinking, oh man, if Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks can pull this off, somehow they're going to apply a lot of pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks to try to tie this series up at 2 games apiece, heading into a crucial game 4, and all of a sudden, Clarence, Trae Young attempts a pass, and was he attempting a pass? I think it was a pass. He attempted a pass, and it ended up being a turnover, and official Sean Wright, it wasn't his fault. He was just in his normal position, on the floor as a ref, and Trae Young, for whatever reason, accidentally stepped so far back that his ankle rose on Sean Wright's foot, and it was so bizarre. And I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? And then he goes out of the game. He comes back in the game, Clarence, but he was not the same. And before his ankle injury, Trae Young was balling. He was shooting 11 of 19 from the floor, 5 of 11 from three-point range, 32 points, and they had led by 3 with 40 seconds left in the third quarter at the time of Trae Young's ankle injury. And all of a sudden, in the fourth quarter, Chris Middleton finally caught fire, and the rest is history. But I felt like those Bucks lucked up because they were on the verge of having all the pressure in game 4, being the favorites in a series again. And we would have seen what they had, if they had enough to be able to overcome this, because they weren't able to overcome the 2 last postseason deficits when they had adversity. It wasn't able to happen.
Well, let's just, first of all, let's break down the Atlanta Hawks support system that played horrible throughout the game with and without Trae Young. Let's start with Kevin Huerter. He only got 11 points, 4-11, 3 shooting. That's solid, but that's not enough from a shooter that should be shooting more than that. Yeah, 7 assists, but it was okay. John Collins, 13 points, 8 rebounds. He shot 6 of 8. I felt like you needed more out of him. You couldn't get more out of him.
He was in foul trouble.
Yeah, he was in foul trouble. That was like, wow. Like, so you couldn't really get in the rhythm because he's dealing with foul trouble. Now, Boban Bogdanović, 8 points, 3 of 16 shooting, 2 for 10 from the 3-point line. At this point, he was jacking up like your mop player at home, Trey. He was terrible. He was awful. This guy wasn't shooting as much. Shot 20% from the 3. And all the 3s that he missed, could have given to somebody else. Now, Danilo Gallinari, I think this is the best support player out of this group. Yeah, 18 points, and he shot 50% from the floor. So he did his part. He at least put up 18 points, which I know he could put up more. He could double the points, actually, to the way type of play style he got. But this supporting cast hasn't been supported to Trae Young. Not at all.
Well, what you saw was Mike Budenholzer and the Milwaukee Bucks. They pretty much had the mindset, hey, Trae Young can get his points, but he's not going to get his points and also be a facilitator. You remember in game 1, when the Atlanta Hawks won game 1, in Milwaukee, Trae Young had 48 points, but he also had 11 assists. Yeah. In this matchup, Trae Young only had 4 assists. Kevin Huerter had more assists than Trae Young. And in order for the Atlanta Hawks to win, they need Trae Young to be a scorer and a facilitator. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks, I'll give them credit, they defensively, they basically said, okay, Trae Young, you can get your points, because Trae Young still had 35 points. They said you can get yours, but we're going to stop everyone else. And that's why you saw the rest of the Hawks supporting cast struggle the way they did.
And the Bucks, man, and Chris Middleton outscored them, a whole Atlanta Hawks team 20-17. So he caught on fire. And the Hawks, they couldn't get a rhythm when they lost Trae Young, man. And that was the lead to our next question. Did Ice Trae injury change the complexion of this game?
Certainly it changed the complexion of this game, fans. I just told you. I think the pressure was going to mount on your Milwaukee Bucks. It was increasing by the minute. And I want to see what Giannis and Chris Middleton had in store for us in the fourth quarter. And I also want to see if they did lose this game, what they had, heading into a crucial game 4 in Atlanta. All the momentum swinging with the Atlanta Hawks. And I want to see what the Bucks were made of. I want to see if they were, the same team from 2 years ago when they lost that lead to the Toronto Raptors. I want to see if they were the same team from last year when they lost to the Miami Heat. I want to see if they were a mentally tough team. But in the fourth quarter, Trae Young was compromised clearly by that ankle injury, and it showed down the stretch in the fourth quarter because in the final 7 minutes and 15 seconds in the fourth quarter, the Bucks outscored the Hawks 25-7. The Bucks shot 10 of 12 from the floor. The Hawks shot 3 of 12. The Bucks shot 3 of 4 from three-point range. The Hawks shot 1 of 8. And the Hawks had 3 turnovers and the Bucks had no turnovers. This was in the final 7 minutes and 15 seconds of the fourth quarter, and that was the difference in the game overall. I give the Bucks credit for stepping up and making shots when they needed to. Chris Middleton was outstanding. He outscored the entire Atlanta Hawks team in the fourth quarter. He had 20 points, and the Hawks team, as a team, had 17. So he balled out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think his ankle injury changed the whole complexion. You remember what happened when Joe Burrow injured his knee? The whole team energy just flew out the stadium. Yeah. And I just think that's what happened with the Atlanta Hawks because that's their leader. That's one they play through. That's who set the tone. So when you take the head off the snake and stuff, everything is running wild. So they couldn't get into a rhythm, and Nate McMillan couldn't adjust to the loss to Trae Young. And basically, Milwaukee, as they should, they took advantage of it. Chris Middleton went bizarre. He was going crazy. He scored 20 points. 20 points in the fourth quarter. In Atlanta Hawks when he scored 17. So he was brilliant. His performance was amazing. It's not one of the best in the playoffs, but it was expected. It was expected to happen, though, because at the end of the day, you can't have slow games. You can't have slow games in the NBA, especially if you consider a superstar, which he is for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, and Mike Budenholzer, he played 9 players in game 3. Yeah. And guess who had a negative rating for the Milwaukee Bucks? Take a wild guess. Take a guess. I just talked about him on last week's show. Bobby being a lot of he's a liability. Brook Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
Brook Lopez was a -17 for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I told you, he's a liability in this series.
It all depends on the
Bobby Portis needs to get more minutes.
I agree with that.
I think Bobby Portis needs to get more minutes. Bobby Portis in this game, he had 15 points, 4 rebounds. I thought he brought some energy to the Milwaukee Bucks in this game.
Yeah, but Bobby Portis is a great role player, though. He brings energy, size, shooting ability. Yeah. And for Brook Lopez, I agree with you. He is slow, though, but he got that body, that size can set screens and shoot and pop. But for Bobby Portis, though, he's a guy you can pick and roll and he can shoot more. You get more out of Bobby Portis in this part of his life than Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez is still a valuable piece to the Milwaukee Bucks. And he's on his way to his first championship, man.
Yeah, and overall for the Atlanta Hawks, once Trae Young came back in the game, Clarence, he just wasn't the same.
He said it too.
Like, he wasn't the same, and you just kind of felt the energy being zapped out of State Farm Arena down in Atlanta. I felt it all the way here at home. I felt it at home. I'm like, oh, man, here we go. Yeah. The Hawks are going to lose this game. And, I just felt bad overall for the Atlanta Hawks team. And if there ever was a time for Lemon Pepper Lou to step up for the Atlanta Hawks, it was in game 3 last night in Atlanta. I felt like in his hometown, it was time for for Lou Williams to step up, and he just didn't get it done.
Everybody
only had 5 points.
I think somebody was texting like, "Hey, Lou, when you go get in?" He was a liability as well.
He just wasn't scoring at the elite rate. You should see him score at. The only player to me that showed any promise for the Atlanta Hawks as far as being able to score consistently was Gallinari. Gallinari got it going late in the third quarter. In the early part of the fourth quarter, he ended up with 18 points. But other than Gallinari and Trae Young's 35, I felt like the Hawks supporting cast struggled as an overall team.
Yeah, and which just leads us to our next question: what adjustment does Nate McMillan need to make to win Game 4? Any concerns over Trae Young's ankle?
Oh, yes, definitely needs to be concerns over Trae Young's ankle injury because of the type of player that Trae Young is. He's the kind of player that leads with explosion, and he uses his quickness, to his advantage. I feel like with his quickness, he's able to go around defenders, get into the paint, shoot those floaters, have those lob dunks to Clint Capella and John Collins. But if he is, neutralized and, he's struggling with that ankle, he's not going to be the same player. So I think
he did say that.
I think the Atlanta Hawks as an overall team, they have to have some major concerns for their young star point guard and Trae Young because, if he is in any way, neutralized, I feel like that's going to be the difference in the series for that team.
Yeah, I think like for Nate McMillan, he need to make an adjustment. I think he has to play Lou Williams more than Bo Bonovich and Huter at this point because they're down 2-1. That 2-1 can turn into 3-1 immediately. I say immediately because Trae Young, he's not 100%.
Yeah.
And I think at this point you have to play Lou Williams. He's a veteran. He has playoff experience. Kevin Huter and Bo Bonovich, they're not shooting the ball at a high level in this pace in this series. So I think you have to throw in Lou Williams, get him in the game because he's a good shooter. He's a good scorer, and he's a solid facilitator. But you'll need him more on scoring, though, man.
Yeah, and again, if Trae Young is compromised, the Atlanta Hawks won't win another game in this series.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. This series is over. You can go ahead and book the Milwaukee Bucks to being in the NBA Finals, and they will be the representative of the East,
Yes!
in the NBA Finals. If Trae Young is compromised.
Mr. Marcus is submitting it, y'all.
Because if Trae Young is compromised, this Atlanta Hawks team has no chance
Yeah.
of beating the Milwaukee Bucks.
Who's the next star? Clay Capella going to be dropping 35.
Come on, man. It's just not going to happen. I told you this, last week about how important Trae Young is to the Atlanta Hawks. He's the most important player really in this series. Because even if Giannis or Middleton have a bad game, I think the Milwaukee Bucks can overcome that and still win. If the Atlanta Hawks, have Trae Young on the floor and he's struggling, they have no chance at beating the Milwaukee Bucks at all.
And let me tell you this. Only reason why I did pick Luka, because Luka play through injuries all the time.
Now, let me ask you this. Before we get into our predictions for Game 4,
Okay.
how do you feel about Chris Middleton's performance dropping 38?
I feel like it's for Chris Middleton, he has I feel like that since he's considered a superstar of the team, he has to put up those type of performances.
Wait, what you say superstars?
Well, star of the team.
Okay.
Okay.
You gotta be throwing
My
around
bad.
Look, let me let y'all know real quick. Clarence loves throwing around this superstar, label on players who just don't deserve to have that title. But go ahead.
I remember, look, I think Chris Middleton, this performance though, Trey, it has to keep going and going and going. Even if they make it to the NBA Finals. So, you can't have slow games. You can't have slow games in this series or any of these series. I think that the problem with is Chris Middleton that he doesn't get going early, and if he doesn't get going early, he's gonna struggle bad. But once he's on, he's on.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument you can play through him. You can play through Chris Middleton if he's on. So if he's not being consistent of scoring or playing defense and stuff, the Bucks is gonna have trouble. So it's important for Chris Middleton to show up like Giannis.
Yeah, Chris Middleton had 15 points in Game 1 and Game 2. He had 20 points in Game 3, in the fourth quarter alone.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yes.
So, he was outstanding. And I got the feeling as I was watching that game, Clarence, Chris Middleton, he could tell that the Atlanta Hawks, their spirit, wasn't the same. Once Trae Young went out with the ankle injury, and I think Chris Middleton smelled blood in that moment. He said, let me go ahead and take this game over.
I mean, why not?
And, shoot them out of the gym. That's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter. And I told you before, especially in the closing moments of playoff games on this Milwaukee Bucks team, Chris Middleton is the Batman and Giannis is the Robin. And even look, I give Giannis credit because Giannis pretty much acknowledged it after the game. He said when Middleton has it going, like he had it going in the fourth quarter, we feed him the basketball. And I think Giannis knows his limitations, and he knows that Chris Middleton, especially late in games, he has a better all-around offensive game when it comes to scoring. And I think Giannis defers to Middleton, and that's why the Milwaukee Bucks have themselves in position and possibly get to the NBA Finals because their superstar is a superstar that doesn't mind sacrificing the big moment.
So why you gotta say Batman and Robin? How come you just can't say Batman and Superman and Batman? Because that's what Giannis is. He's Superman. He set the tone so Batman can finish the rest. But let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Since Jrue Holiday is considered the third option, do you think it's important for him to facilitate the ball or score the ball? Or maybe both?
I think it depends on the night, for the Milwaukee Bucks.
I mean, but you don't want to depend on the night too much because if you have a good night, you expect them to score again. But what if he's not needed to score if Giannis and Chris Middleton is on their game?
Well, if I feel like if Chris Middleton is playing, at the capabilities that he's capable of playing at and the potential that we know he can play at, then you just need Jrue Holiday, to pretty much facilitate and also defend the opposing team's best player.
And shoot threes.
And hit threes. But also, I feel like once Trae Young returned back to the game in the fourth quarter, I give Drew Holiday a lot of credit because you saw him all up in Trae Young. Like, he didn't give him an inch, like at all. Like, he pretty much played that suffocating defense that you need, you know, from your defensive specialist, you know, in that moment. And that's what Drew Holiday is known for, you know, playing great defense. He played great defense, you know, for the most part, you know, in the semifinals against Kyrie before his injury. I thought he played pretty well. So I think it depends on the night. You know, I think Drew Holiday's role and what you need from him can vary game to game.
Yeah, I agree with you right there. I just think that, like, he's brought in to bring in tough defense, three-point shooting, and facilitating. And I think if Giannis and Middleton are having a good one, he should settle for sitting, shooting threes, playing defense, and facilitate, getting them in position to score. So, man, who wins game 4 tomorrow?
Who wins game 4? I believe because Trae Young is compromised, I think the Milwaukee Bucks smell blood, and I think they are ready to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. I'm not sure who's favorite, but I think because Trae Young is compromised with the ankle injury, the bizarre ankle injury clearance. I've been watching sports all my life, and I've never seen an injury happen so bizarre like it happened in that game. Like, I don't know why Trae Young stepped so far back. I don't know what was going on, but for whatever reason, he sprained his ankle. I just don't think he's going to be the same in game 4. And if Trae Young isn't playing at a high level, the Atlanta Hawks simply have no chance. Because even if Trae Young is playing at his best, the Milwaukee Bucks are the superior team. If Trae Young is compromised, it's advantage Milwaukee. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks going to take care of business in game 4 in Atlanta. I predicted before the series, I had Bucks in 6. I don't remember what you had.
I had him in 6. Too.
You had him in 6. But with Trae Young being compromised, it's a good chance Atlanta Hawks season will be over in 5 games.
And the Bucks are favored by 7 points in this game tonight.
Who you got?
I got
tomorrow. You mean tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. I got the Bucks, man. I think they're gonna beat them more than 7. Let's make a little friendly bet. You think they're gonna beat them over or under?
I'm gonna take the Hawks. I'll give you that. I'll take the Hawks plus 7.
Plus 7?
Plus 7. Give me the Hawks on that.
All right, yeah. I think it's gonna be.
Give me a fist pump on that. That's a deal. That's a bet.
Yeah.
You got him more than 7.
Yeah, more than 7.
Okay.
Yeah, more than 7.
Funny wager. We'll see what happens. I think the Bucks will win, but I think it's going to be a close game. I just don't see them being able to pull it out. Trae Young, not with him being compromised and being injured, you need him in the fourth quarter to close.
I agree. I definitely agree.
And then one more thing I want to say too. I heard Nate McMillan speaking to his team in the locker room at the end of the game, and he was talking about how we've been here before. You remember they lost game 3 to the Philadelphia 76ers. Mm-hmm. But the difference is Trae Young wasn't injured. You're dealing with your young star point guard being injured, you know, at a key moment in a key playoff series. I'm not so sure the Atlanta Hawks will be able to overcome this injury with Trae Young in a series of this magnitude, given the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks smell blood and they want to get to the finals clearance. This is the year for Milwaukee, man. Like, I told you this on last week's show. We're going to move on to our next topic. LeBron's gone home, okay? Yeah. Steph Curry's gone home. Anthony Davis gone home. James Harden's gone home.
Kawhi's hurt.
Kevin Durant's gone home. Kawhi, his Clippers, they'll be going home tonight. They'll be done tonight. We're going to talk about them here in a bit, but it's over, okay? This is the year for Giannis to win a championship. This is it.
Well, the Phoenix Suns is very tough.
They tough, but it's a chance at least for the Bucks to get to the finals at bare minimum.
Yes, man. All right, let's switch over to the Western Conference Finals. Mr. Larkins, you know, the Suns, they outlast the Clippers, and this was a low-scoring affair. Actually, this was the lowest scoring game in all this playoffs. The Phoenix Suns went up 3-1. They defeated the Clippers 84-80. Devin Booker had 25 points. DeAndre Ayton, we're going to talk about him in a second, too. He had 22 points and 19 rebounds. Paul George struggled heavily, but he gave it all he last. He had 23-16. He shot 5 for 20. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So let me ask you this, right? You know, I feel like you're a Phoenix Suns fan on the low. So I'm going to ask you this. Yeah. What is your reaction to your Phoenix Suns winning game 2?
See, your Phoenix Suns.
Your Phoenix Suns.
I like the Blazers, man. I told you I'm a Dame fan, Melo fan. But you want to say my Suns, we can roll with that.
I feel like you got a feeling for you love the Suns.
I just want Chris Paul to get him a championship, and I think they have a shot. But when I look at game 4. It was game 4. Game 4 for the Phoenix Suns. I just felt like overall clearance, both teams struggled in the fourth quarter. It was Brick City at its finest.
Shooting like 30 times.
In the fourth quarter, this was the Phoenix Suns. They combined to go. They shot 4 of 19 from the floor. They were 0 of 3 from three-point range in the fourth quarter. Here's the Clippers. They were worse. 3 of 19 shooting from the floor. 0 of 6 from the three in the fourth quarter. So both teams were awful in the fourth quarter. Chris Paul went 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter. Paul George went 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter. I just felt like watching this game, the Clippers had a chance to steal one in game 4 in LA. And for a third consecutive series in the playoffs, they had a chance to go back, to the opposing team's, city, tied at 2 games apiece. I mean, it was right there for the taking. And they missed, let me look at these numbers, man. They missed 12 shots that would have given them the lead in this game. 12 shots. And when you think about it, overall, like, it was just bad from both teams in the fourth quarter. And I feel like the Clippers let one get away because it just seemed like if they would have been able to even this series up, all the pressure would have shifted to Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns, heading into game 5 in Phoenix, but they weren't able to get it done. And I just think overall in the fourth quarter, both teams, the magnitude of the moment seemed, a bit too much for both teams. And I just felt like they had a lot of nerves going on. Like, for whatever reason, just neither team could hit shots in the fourth quarter. And I think that was the difference in the game. I just think the Suns made 1 or 2 more shots than the Clippers. I know it's like plain clearance, but I don't really got much for you because Phoenix did everything possible to hand this game to the Clippers. Will you agree? They did everything possible to get this game away to the Clippers.
12 shots could have given them the lead.
12 shots.
And if you look at this, you just look at this Suns stat sheet. Jay Crowder, 1 of 8, the whole floor, 1 of 6 from the 3. He had 3 points, and he was in foul trouble too, but he shot terrible.
He did.
Who else? Chris Paul and Devin Booker was combined of 14 of 44 shooting. And that right there is a problem as well, because I feel like CP3, he has enough power to to have the floor general. So he doesn't have to take up 22 shots when you have a scoring machine other than Devin Booker.
Yeah.
And that's a problem to me, because if Devin Booker is on fire, you all try to match his energy. So that's why it looked this sloppy. The Suns shot 36%, 4 for 20 in the game. So fourth quarter was slop.
It was
it was a mess. So you want to clean up the problem that you're having. And Chris Paul just needed to stop taking a lot of shots, and Devin Booker needed to take smarter shots.
Yeah, and if you look at the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah.
The Suns, they had led 71-70. Paul George, it's a technical foul on Devin Booker. Devin Booker is teed up.
I've seen that.
And then Paul George goes to the free throw line. He makes the free throw. And then he also has a free throw where he makes one of 2. So he shoots 1 of 2 from the line. He had a chance to tie the game up at 71 apiece, but he goes 1 of 2 from the line. So it's 71-70. So I'm going to give you some of these possessions for the Clippers, right? So the Clippers come back down the court, and Batum misses a 3-point shot. This is a shot to take the lead. Batum misses a 3-point shot. And then Cameron Payne blocks Terrence Mann, shot at the rim. And then Paul George misses a 3.
That's 3 shots.
And then what else happened? Bridges blocks George 3 his layup. 4. And then Paul George misses another 2-point shot. So it was shot after shot after shot that was missed. And neither team could make a field goal for almost close to 4 minutes until Chris Paul threw an alley-oop pass to DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns went up 73-70. So for about a 4-minute span, from 10:07 to 6 minutes and 23 seconds left in the game, neither team scored. Yeah. That was a chance and an opportunity for the Clippers to take control of the game, Clarence. And I just felt like if they could have made one of those shots, it could have shifted momentum to the Clippers, because the Suns were struggling themselves. But again, the Suns did everything possible to give this game to the Clippers, and they just could not take advantage. And Mr. Paul George, man, he just struggled overall in this game, especially shooting from the floor. Paul George went 5 of 20, which is 25%. He shot 1 of 9 from 3-point range. And then he went 12 of 18 from the free throw line, Clarence. For some reason, late in games in the postseason, he's been missing free throws.
He missed some key ones.
He missed some key free throws. And so I think overall, the biggest difference in the game was, for me, and the best player, honestly, on the floor was DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton is playing at a high level. We had 19 points, 22 rebounds in 41 minutes. 22 rebounds. DeAndre Ayton is playing at a high level, and I've been very impressed what he's done on this Phoenix Suns playoff run overall.
Yeah, I think that's a franchise record for 22 rebounds in a playoff game.
Yeah.
I think that is a franchise record, but I think DeAndre Ayton is playing like the out of his mind because like he's been dominating, and the Clippers they had time to adjust to him.
Yeah.
Like they threw Zubac at him, and he just been tearing Zubac up. DeMarcus Cousins, he hasn't been playing as much though. I kind of felt like he could throw a body at him though, but some reason Tyronn Lue is not playing as much as he should. And like Ayton is a double machine. Like you can tell he's gonna be special in the future later on because you see the energy that he brings to the floor, and he also said Chris Paul is the best thing that happened to him.
Yeah.
So like Chris Paul brought out the best out of him, and that's good that a veteran can bring the best out of you because that let us know like we're gonna see more of it next time to come. But I think DeAndre Ayton, he's in a comfortable seat right now. He's playing with house money. Like he's balling. He played the most minutes in the game. Like so he's been on his A game. Devin Booker been slouching, but DeAndre Ayton has been balling. And I did say, and I was the one type like, man, DeAndre Ayton, man, he's not ready, man. I don't think he ain't up there to make it to that top. But now he's balling, man. I think he can crack my list.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Before game 3, when the Suns were leading 2-0,
Mm-hmm.
we learned that Chris Paul was going to return back to the lineup.
Yep.
Past the health and safety protocols and COVID. If I would have told you in games 3 and 4, Chris Paul and Devin Booker combined to shoot 24 of 84, which is 29%, would you have said, when we go to game 5 in Phoenix, this series would be tied at 2 games apiece? Would you have said that would have happened? They both, listen, Chris Paul and Devin Booker, 24 of 84, shot 29%. Would you have said that's 2 Clipper wins?
Yeah. I want if Kawhi was like back, I would definitely say that.
Even without Kawhi. I mean, to me, even without Kawhi, the Clippers should have won both games. They won game 3.
I get what you're saying.
They should have won game 4.
It's a sloppy game on the that's the problem. CP3 is taking too much shots that he shouldn't have to take. Like Devin Booker, I understand that he's a scorer, but CP3, he's taking shots that he believes that he can make. Not saying he can't though, but sometimes those shots are not worth it. Like if you got a hot hand of DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, feed it to him. Hell, if he was smart enough, he probably average a triple-double.
I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. I get that. I just look at it from a Clippers perspective, man. Like watching this game at halftime, I'm thinking, okay, Phoenix, they got the Clippers right where they want them. Like they winning this game, they have a chance to take control, of this game. But then in the third quarter, for whatever reason, Ty Lue and the Clippers played great in the third quarter, Clarence. They're a great third quarter team.
Yeah.
They outscored the Suns 30-19 in the third quarter. So I'm thinking, okay, like the Clippers heading into the fourth quarter, they got a chance here. Like they had a chance to even up this series. And then they were awful in the fourth quarter. And again, they always fight hard. They are a mentally tough team. Like they never quit. There is no quit in this Clippers team. They refuse to lose. But in the fourth quarter, they couldn't buy a basket, Clarence. Like they just couldn't buy a basket. And I think that's what ultimately hurt them in this series. And that's the reason why I feel like overall, like the Phoenix Suns are in the driver's seat and have a good chance to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals tonight.
I mean, and I kind of feel like this. Back to the Clippers, they closed out on the Utah Jazz. When Terrence Mann had the hot hand, how come you stop feeding him? I understand, like he's a young one, he's still growing though, but he had a hot hand that led to closing out the Utah Jazz. I just think that game four, like he ain't let Terrence Mann like unleash more of him. And I think if Terrence Mann was scoring more, it would have been a difference maker.
I understand that. I agree with that. And I will say, in this matchup, Terrence Mann, it was in the final 2 minutes. Terrence Mann made a layup that cut the Suns' lead to 79-76. He got fouled in that play by Mikal Bridges. I don't know what the rest was looking at.
Yeah.
They missed the call there. If he makes the free throw, that would have cut it to, 2. He makes the free throw with 79-77. You never know what could happen at that point. But I thought that was a key play in the game as well. And this one more stat for you. This was in the regular season and the postseason. Teams who hold teams to 84 points or less, they were 22-0 in the regular season and 3-0 in the playoffs. So the Clippers held the Suns to 84 points. So every time it has happened so far in this season, in the regular season, in the playoffs, that team has won that game. You hold a team to 84 points, you're supposed to win that game. You gotta win that game. You got to bring that home.
Usually they be like blowouts, like lead into blowouts. Like
Yeah, for sure. But any adjustments Ty Lue can make heading into Game 5 tonight in Phoenix?
I think you on the road, man. You want to come out swinging. You want to come out swinging. Paul George should be able to score like 12 straight baskets. Reggie Jackson scoring. Marcus Morris scoring. If you tell he's dealing with a knee issue, I think you just got to come out the game swinging. Like if you're not coming out swinging, you let Phoenix get into a rhythm. They already like in some type of rhythm. Hey, we up 3-1. We about to close you boys out. So you should have in the mindset, hey man, we about to stop. Y'all ain't about to close us out. We coming out here swinging all 48 minutes. But the first quarter is gonna be important for the Clippers. It depends on how they're gonna start off the game and kind of how you finish.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important for the Clippers to have a chance tonight. They got to get off to a good start tonight in Phoenix. And I told you before, that crowd, in Phoenix, they bring energy and they energize that Phoenix Suns team. Like that Suns team, they feed off that energy in Phoenix. So I think it's important for Ty Lue to have the Clippers ready to play tonight, please. Yeah. Because if they get down early in this game, like I could see the Suns pulling away and the Clippers hanging their heads and not being able to get back in this game. I think Chris Paul, Devin Booker, they can smell the blood. Like they can feel we got an NBA Finals appearance that's on the line here. We want to close this thing out. We don't want to give the Clippers any hope, and have to go back to LA for a Game 6. I think the Suns going to take care of business tonight. So I'm just going to let you know, I got the Suns winning Game 5 tonight and closing out this series in 5 games. And I predicted this. I don't know if you remember. I said, if, the Suns win Game 4, I said they're going to win this series in 5. I said if the Clippers manage somehow to pull off Game 4, it's going to go 7. So I think the Suns going to close them out tonight.
Yeah, I think the Suns is closing them out. The award people is ready. They outside. They tired of traveling with the team. So I think they're going to close them out tonight. And can you believe that we about to watch the Phoenix Suns that's been to the playoffs, NBA Finals since 1993 with Charles Barkley, about to make their first time finals appearance, man.
Yeah, I'm happy for Chris Paul, man.
Oh, you sure? I know you are.
I'm happy for Chris Paul. Chris Paul gets a chance at the NBA Finals. I don't want to say my Suns. Everybody know I like the Blazers today.
Yeah, but that's like your second favorite, it seems like.
But let's transition to the NFL. Clarence, we've been talking about the NFC West a lot lately. We talked about the Seahawks a few weeks ago, Russell Wilson. We talked about the Rams, on Friday's show. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. And the Arizona Cardinals, are they ready for prime time? Last year, the Arizona Cardinals, they finished 8-8 on the season, third in the NFC West. They had a chance at making the playoffs. At one point, they were 8-6. I think they lost their last 2 games, finished off 8-8. They added veterans like A.J. Green and J.J. Watt in the offseason. I think they also added James Conner, in the backfield. So what are your expectations for the Arizona Cardinals this season?
Don't forget the draft, man. They drafted a talented linebacker in Xavier Collins and a dynamic receiver in Rondale Moore, which is my cousin Hopbow's favorite guy. But my expectation for the Cardinals this season, like, you grab all these weapons, and Asher, I hope you hear me too. You grab all these weapons, Cliff Kingsbury. You better do something with them. Like you started the season 6-3. And then you finished 8-8. You lost your last 2 games. All you had to do is win the last game. You're in.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do that. And I think Cliff Kingsbury, like, believe it or not, is on the hot seat because you bring in J.J. Watt, you pay him elite money. You bring in A.J. Green, you think you can restore his career. You bring in James Conner because you lost Kenyon Drake. You bring in I don't know if they probably about to trade Chandler Jones, but he's here. You drafted Rondale Moore to bring more weapons and Xavier Collins to play middle linebacker. So it's a lot on him. I think if this Cardinal team at least doesn't make the playoffs, like their expectations was definitely underachieved. So if they don't make the playoffs this year, you can say you fire Kingsbury and this team has underachieved because all this talent on that team and how special Kyler Murray is. They should go farther in the playoffs. Like, that's how good they really are. They just need to hit that potential, though. But I'm stoked to watch them throughout the season because we was talking about the Rams. Like, They got a nice defense. Now they got a quarterback that they're taking a huge gamble on. Now, Cliff Kingsbury, he's taking a huge gamble on veteran like players like J.J. Watt and A.J. Green. Now, can Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, how can I forget about DeAndre Hopkins? See, like, they got a lot of weapons. So if they don't get the job done, Trey, they coming for Kingsbury's job.
I agree with you actually about that, about Kingsbury.
They coming for him. And everybody had doubts about him. Like, man, why they hired this dude? Like, who want to play college ball? But I think Kingsbury is actually a solid coach. He just got to put it all together.
I think people had questions about whether or not he can lead an NFL team as a head coach. Because what has he done to earn, this Arizona Cardinals job? I mean, you inherited one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. And that leads me to how I feel about the Arizona Cardinals. When you talk about the Arizona Cardinals, for me, Clarence, it obviously starts at the quarterback position in Kyler Murray. Last year, Kyler Murray had 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, threw for close to 4,000 passing yards, completed 67% of his passes. I think when you look at young quarterbacks in the NFL, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, you got to have Kyler Murray in that conversation. I've been impressed with Kyler Murray since his days at the University of Oklahoma, Clarence. Like, he is a true athlete. He can play baseball as well. Still wants to pursue his baseball career, but I love him as a quarterback, and I love his leadership. And I think when you talk about pure speed, like the first 20 yards of a race, I think he can get Lamar. Not 50 yards, not 60 yards. I'm talking about the first 20. I think he might be able to get Lamar because he's quick, just like Lamar is. And he can, he's quick, moving side to side. And I love his pocket awareness. Unlike Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray is great at throwing the ball in the pocket. Like, I've been very impressed with him, but I think last year he got injured, and he has a small frame, Clarence. Like, if he gets hit or if he gets injured, I kind of feel like he's not the same because he's not really big. I mean, how tall is Kyler Murray? He's like 5'10". He's 5'10", so he's not very tall. So I just wonder how many hits can he take. I think Cliff Kingsbury needs to do a better job of putting Kyler Murray in positions, to be, successful and also protect his young quarterback. Because Kyler Murray, he's ruthless. Like, he's careless. He'll go out there and run all over the field if you let him. Kingsbury needs to do a good job of putting him in the pocket and protecting Kyler Murray from himself. Because if you let Kyler Murray just go out there, he'll run all over the field and he might get injured again. And I think that's the reason why, Clarence, they lost those 2 games down the stretch and missed the playoffs. You got to have Kyler Murray healthy. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, obviously they brought in J.J. Watt. So, we'll see what he has left in the tank. That's the biggest question about J.J. Watt. We know J.J. Watt, when he's healthy, he's a top defensive player in the NFL. But he hasn't been healthy, Clarence, over the last few years. And then even offensively. A.J. Green, they brought him in. He's another veteran. A.J. Green hasn't been healthy for the last few years either.
Okay, take it easy.
That's the question is about A.J. Green and J.J. Watt. Can they get back to being the players that they were 2-3 years ago? If they can, I believe this Arizona Cardinals team has a chance to make the playoffs. I think the Rams have a better team top to bottom, but I think the Cardinals can compete with the Rams in the NFC West, and I think they have a shot to make the postseason.
I think the Cardinals offense is kind of better than the Rams offense.
I think they might be better, but I think the Rams team is better than the Cardinals team. Well, defensively for sure. It's not even a conversation.
Yeah, so let me ask you this: Where does you rank Kyler Murray among your young NFL quarterbacks?
I would say, okay, obviously Patrick Mahomes is better.
Okay, so we doing young quarterbacks, or we just doing quarterbacks in the NFL?
Young quarterbacks.
Okay.
So I would say, okay, I'm thinking I would take him over.
Let's do a quick 5.
Quick 5.
Who you take him over?
Go ahead, name some.
Okay, Patrick Mahomes.
Of course not.
Deshaun Watson.
Of course not.
Lamar.
Ooh, man, that's close for me. Like, I know people gonna think this is crazy. It's close for me. I love Lamar. Lamar is a great player. I know he won MVP a few years ago. 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Broke the rushing yards record, but Kyler Murray is a better pocket passer than Lamar is.
Lamar got more wins than they ever had in the last 3 years, man.
Give me Kyler over Lamar.
Ooh, that's tough. Allen.
Give me Josh Allen over Kyler Murray. I like Josh Allen because Josh Allen is great as far as being able to throw the ball deep. He's a great deep ball thrower.
Herbert.
Give me Kyler Murray over Herbert.
Burrow.
Give me Kyler Murray over Burrow.
Oh, because the knee injury, right?
Just overall, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray proving in Joe Burrow right now. Joe Burrow, look, you get beside yourself.
No, I'm not.
Because you ain't had no elite quarterback, in a long time. You get beside yourself.
Look, he had all those weapons, and the potential was still there. Okay.
Now, Joe Burrow, who you got? Or Kyler Murray?
I'm not trying to be biased and none of that, but I will take Burrow. Like the instinct he has for the team, like he would spark it up. I'm telling you. Look, Kyler Murray is special.
Oh, for ACL?
No. Oh man, look, he's healthy.
Come on.
He's
We
healthy.
don't even know
Look,
what Joe Burrow. We don't even know what Joe Burrow is going to play this year. We don't know how he's going to play with that injury.
The problem with Murray is though that like sometimes his read is not there. His first read isn't there, and he gonna scramble or he's gonna get lost in his like throwing motion.
Herbert or Murray? Come on, man. Oh my God, you was gonna take Herbert over Murray?
Oh man,
come on, man.
I'm not being like I'm telling you, man. Herbert got a lot of potential, but I probably at the moment I probably take Murray over him because Herbert consistent accuracy is kind of a question.
Josh Allen or Kyler Murray?
Allen for sure.
Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray?
Deshaun Watson.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes or Wayne. Come on,
taking Murray.
Come on. Nah, but okay, so. Are the Cardinals a playoff team to you?
I think so. I believe so. Like I feel like they got a middle of pack defense. Like you said, it's something like injuries can't come back to JJ Watt. If he's healthy though, I can see them like really going deep, and their defense can sneak into the top 10. But I think this offense is very potent. They got a lot of potential. Like the running game is kind of iffy though, but I can trust it more because it's Kyler Murray. He can run the ball. He had 10 rushing touchdowns last year. So I think like he's capable of running the ball if he's needed. And you got one of the best receivers in the league, DeAndre Hopkins. How can you like defend that? Like, I mean, Jalen Ramsey did a good job, but this offense is dynamic. Like they can be really an elite offense if they can click together. I think they're a playoff team though. Only thing will hold them back is if the defense can't hold the end of their stick and injuries start to happen. But I think the Arizona Cardinals is a playoff team. And I already told you this before. The NFC West is going to be between Arizona and the LA Rams, man.
Oh, certainly. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I mean, 49ers, they going through.
They'll be better this year.
They're going to be going through a little rebuild.
Oh, man, I disagree.
We should talk about
They just went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They just had a bunch of injuries.
Look at the Rams. Look at the Rams, though. Like, everybody expecting them to go back to the Super Bowl. They know damn well the Rams about to make a back-to-back, man.
I think as far as, dual threat quarterbacks, I think, he deserves to be in that conversation. Talk about Kyler Murray as Lamar Jackson. Like dual threat? As a dual threat?
You got ass and piss.
What? I said as a dual threat.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie.
What?
He is a dual threat.
Listen,
he is a dual threat.
Last year, this is Kyler Murray. Rush attempts, he was ranked 3rd in the NFL with 82. Rushing yards, he was ranked 2nd in the NFL with 822 rushing yards. His yards per attempt, he was 6.2, which is ranked 3rd. And then his rushing touchdowns, he was ranked 11th, which is 2nd in the NFL. That is a dual threat quarterback, the
really
same
is.
as Lamar Jackson. And like I said, Kyler Murray is a better pocket passer than Lamar Jackson is.
I actually got Kyler Murray in my top 10 quarterbacks going into this year.
Good. I'm glad you do. Give Kyler Murray his flowers. Like, I love Lamar. I know how great Lamar is. Okay, I know Lamar won an NFL MVP award 2 years ago. He broke the rushing yards record held by Michael Vick. I respect the hell of Lamar. Okay, I love Lamar Jackson's story. When he came into the NFL, most people counted him out.
He's better than Watson.
He was – oh, what?
He's better than Watson at the moment.
Oh, stop. Don't do that. Look, I ain't got time for this shenanigans tonight. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Like, I'm not going to do it with you. Like, for you, so Lamar Jackson's better than Deshaun Watson?
With Lamar Jackson?
You just said that. He's better?
He's better at the moment. Hey, Raquel, I want you to book this right now. Lamar Jackson is better than Deshaun Watson at the moment, right now. Because only I say right now because he won, because he's a winning quarterback. He carried his team more better than him. And think about this. Without this Ravens team, without Lamar Jackson, there isn't no playoff. There isn't nothing. I'm telling you right now. And who got the MVP? Who got the MVP, Asher? Who got the MVP?
You just said, wait. Did you just say that Lamar Jackson is better than Deshaun Watson?
Let me give you my list right now, top 10. 1, Mahomes. 2,
What?
2, Brady. 2 Rodgers. 3, Brady. 4, Lamar. 5, Russ. 6, Allen. 6, Watson. 7, Allen. 8, Murray. Number 9, Matthew Stafford. Number 10, Big Ben.
No, you just, that's your top 3 quarterback. But you just said that Lamar Jackson is better than Deshaun Watson.
I think he impacts the game more than Deshaun Watson. I think That only thing
I'm done. I'm not
Deshaun
talking about
Watson,
you no more.
the only
I'm
thing
done.
Deshaun Watson got on him is throwing the football. But sometimes he's been sacked 47 times. And not saying it's his fault, but it partially is his fault. When you hold on to football for too long, you're getting sacked.
Are you serious? Deshaun Watson?
Who got the MVP, Trey?
Stop!
Who got the MVP?
Man, listen.
Who got the MVP?
Man, hey, guess what? When I look at the Baltimore Ravens and their success, I could point to variety of other people who contributes to their success. You know, John Harbaugh is a great coach in the NFL. Ozzie Newsome is a great owner in the NFL. He puts players in positions to be successful, and he puts, players on the team that helps John Harbaugh succeed. When you look at the Houston Texans, as awful as that organization has been, this is a terrible organization. You got players like Andre Johnson, a Hall of Fame great. J.J. Watt, a Hall of Fame, in the future, great. Spoke out against the Houston Texans organization. Hold on, let me finish. All Deshaun Watson did was have 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, completed 70% of his passes, threw for over 4,000 passing yards last year. Well, who was he throwing the ball to? Because DeAndre Hopkins was in Arizona.
Okay.
Who was he throwing the ball to? Are you serious?
The last 5 years, the Houston Texans have more playoff wins than the Baltimore Ravens. So even without Deshaun Watson, they was winning playoff games. The quarterback situation in Baltimore, Joe Flacco couldn't lead them. So they had to bring in Lamar Jackson. Ever since Lamar Jackson been the starting quarterback, they've been making the playoffs. They've been making the playoffs, Mr. Larkins. And talent perspective, it's really close. It's really, really close.
It's not. Okay, let me tell you something.
Close.
Okay.
It's
Deshaun
really
Watson is a better pocket passer than Lamar.
That's about it.
Deshaun Watson also overall in their career. Like even I'm talking even go back to the collegiate.
Man, we ain't talking about that.
I'm counting all this. Deshaun Watson is more of a winner than Lamar. And I love Lamar.
Wait. Lamar got a Heisman Trophy, too.
Did you forget that Deshaun Watson went to back-to-back national championship games against Nick Saban?
Yeah.
And in the year that he lost, they should have won that year. Like, Deshaun Watson is big time. And I got something else
He
for
is,
you.
though. He's a top 10 quarterback.
I've said this on the show. Okay, I got one for you. Deshaun Watson is closer to Patrick Mahomes than Lamar Jackson is to Deshaun Watson. There's a gap. There is a significant gap. If you put Deshaun Watson, I've said this before though. This is the same.
You said it before.
I've been consistent with this. If you put Deshaun Watson in Kansas City, I guarantee you Deshaun Watson statistically will put up the same numbers as Patrick Mahomes.
You can look.
Yes,
you got to call me crazy, but I think when you the next person that is next to Patrick Mahomes, it's only two people. It is Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson, but I think Lamar is closer when we talk about impacting the game. Think about it. Mahomes even said it. He even said like the way he impacts a game is amazing because you got to worry about him throwing the ball and running it. Deshaun Watson, you only get more so worried about him throwing the ball. He's not a big of a dual threat. He's more of a pro-style quarterback, but Lamar Jackson is better than this man now.
I got a question for you before we move on to our wiser lives.
Mm-hmm.
Between Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson, comparing the two.
Yeah.
Who's had the better coach since both players been in the NFL? Who's had the better coach, Lamar or Deshaun?
Oh, okay, Harbaugh, but
Harbaugh's great. Bill O'Brien was off.
Bill O'Brien had one more playoff game
in
the last few years than Harbaugh. Harbaugh can't make the damn playoff. He couldn't win with Joe Flacco.
Right? He won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. He got one.
I said the last 5 years, man. Last 5 years. Look, the point is Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback.
I never said he wasn't.
But right now, Lamar Jackson is better than Deshaun Watson.
Stop. You need to be drug tested.
Yeah,
no. You need to be drug tested.
How many AFC South championships the Houston Texans have? Hey. Exactly. One. Ash, how many they got? One.
Don't do that.
How many Baltimore got? Okay.
Deshaun Watson is a significantly better pocket passer than Lamar. Right now in their careers, Lamar is not as good as a pocket passer as Deshaun Watson is. I'm sorry. Come on.
He's a better overall player than Watson.
Let's transition to our wiser lies segment of the day. Boston Celtics' new head coach, Ime Udoka, vows to push Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. So is it wiser lies to say Udoka is the right coach for the Celtics?
It's Udoka. That's Udoka. Okay. I'm Udoka. But I think it's the right coach. If you look at his resume, he got a good resume that he can bring into the Boston organization. And when a coach say they're gonna push a player, you go see another level of these players. So I'm expecting to see Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart play at an all-star, superstar level.
I agree with you. I think he's a good fit for the Boston Celtics. I like Brad Stevens. He's a new general manager now of the Boston Celtics. He elevated to president of basketball operations. So I like his, second big move, because the first move was trading Kemba Walker to the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is the second big move, hiring him. So I like this move, for the Celtics. I expect the Celtics to be true contenders next year in the Eastern Conference.
Agreed.
So we'll see what happens moving forward, but I expect big things for the Celtics moving forward.
All right, so Jamal Adams and the Seattle Seahawks are having a contract issue. Early last year, they traded to a pair of first-round picks and a third-round pick to the New York Jets, and they still haven't gave Jamal Adams an extension. So $20 million is the startup annual. Yeah. So is it wise to say the Seahawks should re-sign Jamal Adams?
I think it's wise to say that Seahawks should resign Jamal Adams, because who the hell are they going to replace him with? Like, I've told you, I don't think the Seattle Seahawks defense is up to par like the Rams defense in this division, like the 49ers defense in this division. And I think in order for you to be able to compete for a Super Bowl and get Russell Wilson, back to the Super Bowl, you need a solid defense to put around him. You got to have Jamal Adams on this team. So I think it's wise to say that the Seahawks should re-sign Jamal Adams and bring him back to a secondary that's already, questionable. I already got my questions about him already. If you lose Jamal Adams, I think you take a step back. So I think they should bring him back.
I agree with you when they take a step back. I think it's wise though, because the cap space is going up next year, and you can consider this a 1-year rental, a 2-year rental, or a second in the second year, like you give him a 1-year deal and you walk him to next year and you can be able to pay him, because $20 million is a steep price. And like you said, they need a leader on defense. He had 9.5 sacks as a safety, so he's one of the leaders on the team. So if you want to like you said, you want to take Russell Wilson to a Super Bowl, you got to get the defense together. So I think the first priority is re-signing him.
And I like Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker. He's the vocal leader for their defense, but I think Jamal Adams is their leader in the secondary.
Yeah.
So you got to bring him back.
So all right. So Cleveland Browns beat writer Jake Trotter said Jadeveon Clowney is the key to the Browns' success. The Browns' defensive success. Sorry. So is it wise to say Jadeveon Clowney is the key to the Browns' defense?
That is a lie. Jadeveon Clowney is not the key to the Browns' defense. The key to the Browns' defense is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is the best player on the Browns' defense. So I think he also is the key to their defense being successful. If you take Myles Garrett off the Browns' defense, they will be a bottom tier team defensively. So I think it's a lie to say that Jadeveon Clowney is the key to Browns defense. It's Myles Garrett, the best player on their defense. I think this is the first time ever I hit all wise, because I think it's wise, Trey. I agree with you about Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a one-man wrecking crew. And that's what you're going to expect that from him. You're going to expect that from him. But Jadeveon Clowney is the key to this, because you brought him in to pair him up to Myles Garrett. If you can get pressure from both sides, both defensive ends, team's going to have a long But what opens up, the opportunity for Jadeveon Clowney to play at a high level is Myles Garrett. So he's the key in all this.
Yeah, but if Myles Garrett, even Myles Garrett struggling, he's still a disruptive to the line. If Jadeveon Clowney can beat his one-on-ones and get away from double teams, I think he can have a solid. I'll give you a good prediction of him right now. If he's healthy, play all 17 games, and he's being disruptive, I can see him getting 11 or 12, 11 sacks. That's my number, 11 sacks.
They added Troy Hill in the secondary for the Cleveland Browns. So we'll see what's going to be in store for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season. I can't wait till we break down the AFC North and get our predictions on that. But let's transition back to some NBA, Clarence. As Chris Bosh spoke out, and he appeared on Fubu Sports Network.
Fubu.
And he was discussing his new book, Letters to a Young Athlete. And they were talking about the Brooklyn Nets big three, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant. And they was comparing that big three to the Miami Heat big three in their prime, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. And Chris Bosh, didn't give, any kind of endorsement for his big three. He said the Nets big three in their prime would beat the Miami Heat in their prime. So this is Chris Bosh. He said, quote, "I'm going to give the nod to them," Bosh said. "I could score pretty good, and I'll go out there and compete. But, they can do things I've never seen." This was Chris Bosh on the Nets big three. So this got us to thinking. And give us your opinion. Anybody watching the show tonight, everybody remember, go follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H, also on Facebook, Wise Guys. follow us on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Give us your opinion. Who would win? Prime Nets Big Three or Prime Miami Heat Big Three? Clarence, who you got?
Man, look, I respect Chris Bosh. He's a future Hall of Fame, 2-time NBA Finals back-to-back with Miami Heat. But I respectfully disagree with this damn statement.
Okay.
Because he's saying Prime Nets is better than Prime Heat. Like, when you talk about Prime, they're pairing up together. And the result that they had in this playoffs, they don't stand a chance with this Prime Heat. Because LeBron James and Miami trade was on another level. D Wade was still playing at the top at the best level. Chris Bosh as well too. His numbers probably don't reflect it though, but his impact to the game was a lot. And it's this Prime Nets team. They've been dealing with injuries all through the season. This Heat team, who had the most injuries out of them?
But we're talking about both teams being healthy. On a neutral floor.
Oh no, I'm just
both teams being healthy. Prime Nets, Prime Heat. Who you got?
Man, I got the Prime Heat, man. LeBron James with the Heat, he was unstoppable. He was on a different force. When he teamed up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, you've seen a different side of LeBron. I think KD is solid. He's a great scorer. James Harden is a good one though, and Kyrie. But if they're in their prime and injuries involved, included too though, I got Prime Heat. LeBron James is on different levels, right? And regards to KD. You know, he's one of the greatest scorers I ever seen, like, you know, since I've been watching basketball, but he doesn't stand a chance against Prime Fine, especially in Miami.
Ooh, man, I disagree with you here, and I agree with Chris Bosh. I'm taking the Nets Big Three over the Heat Big Three because I'm looking at, okay, Kevin Durant, LeBron in their prime. I think Kevin Durant, LeBron cancel each other out. Like, I think as great as LeBron is a facilitator, Kevin Durant could drop 40 on anybody. Okay, so I think they cancel each other out. So then we go to the second best players on each team. Now you're comparing Dwayne Wade and James Harden. I believe once LeBron went to Miami, Dwayne Wade wasn't the same player, Clarence. He was still a great closer, but every year when LeBron was in Miami, Dwayne Wade statistically, his numbers went down. So I think Dwayne Wade wasn't in his prime anymore once LeBron went to Miami. And I think that's part of the reason why they went 2-2, you know, during their era of the Big Three. Instead of going, you know, 3-1 or 4-0, they went 2-2. And I think that was impartial because Dwayne Wade wasn't the same Dwayne Wade like he was back in 2006 when Miami beat Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks and win the championship with Shaq on that team. But James Harden, I'm taking him over, you know, Dwayne Wade. Right now, this James Harden, listen, Dwayne Wade in his career is better than James Harden. I think Dwayne Wade is the third greatest shooting guard of all time. Behind MJ and Kobe, I think it's Dwayne Wade.
But you can make that argument that James Harden is probably a better scorer than Wade.
It's close. It's close.
It's real close.
But Dwayne Wade is significantly more clutch than James Harden. Way more clutch. Like Dwayne Wade.
Although we've seen James Harden hit some clutch shots.
Wade is a closer. Dwayne Wade is a closer.
Yeah, he's a closer for sure.
Yeah, like Flash is a closer. But I feel like Dwayne Wade, you know, when LeBron was in Miami, again, he wasn't the same player that he once was. So I'm gonna take James Harden, you know, in his prime over Dwayne Wade at this moment. You know, with their Big Three at that time. And then you get to the third best players on each team. Kyrie Irving, you know, he's a showstopper. He's the most entertaining player in the NBA. I think when you talk about being the most skillful player of all time, I compare Kyrie Irving to Steph Curry. I compare him to Allen Iverson. Kyrie Irving deserves to be in that conversation. And I think Kyrie Irving also is a closer. You know, when games are close in playoff games, Kyrie Irving is a closer. He has that Mamba mentality. You know, RIP to Kobe, but he taught Kyrie how to be a closer, how to have that Mamba mentality in playoff games. So, and I love Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was a perennial all-star. We saw him, you know, get the Toronto Raptors teams, you know, to the postseason a few times when he was in Toronto. We saw him be the number one option on a playoff contender in the Toronto Raptors. But I don't think Chris Bosh is the caliber of player that Kyrie is. I think Kyrie has reached levels that Chris Bosh just didn't get to, especially when he was in Miami. Now, you can say that could be because LeBron is dominating the ball, but I don't think Chris Bosh was the same player that he was in Miami as he was when he was in Toronto. Well, all of that put together, I'm taking the Nets Big Three over the Heat Big Three in their prime.
You got to understand, that prime Heat team, LeBron James was making all first or second defensive team. So his defense was ecstatic there. Wade was good at closing out. At some point, he was leading the league in fourth quarter points.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh was an excellent rebounder, excellent offensive rebounder. So
Certainly.
yeah, when you take like if you would have switched out like Toronto Chris Bosh with Miami Chris Bosh, I think man that Heat would have won three like they would have had a 3-peat. But he took the back row for Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, especially LeBron James, because at that moment in his career, Bosh was a better scorer and Wade, in my opinion, because I felt like he could have been like the second leading scorer though, but they had to give it to Wade and all that. But Bosh was really a dog. He can really ball for real.
Yeah, he can.
And I think like
and he don't get enough credit for those
he doesn't.
2 championships that LeBron won in Miami.
Yeah, he doesn't it just gets thrown under the rug. But reality, man, dude, what's important. But man, prime Heat was different, man. Bron was hitting threes. Wade was, throwing little oops down. Any three that he shot up, Bosh was getting a rebound trade. I just think on the defensive side, man, that Nets team.
And I think I agree with that.
Man.
No, I agree with that. But I also going to say too,
We
got remember I believe it was the 2013 NBA Finals when the San Antonio Spurs and Kawhi Leonard, he was young.
Yeah.
Greg Popovich, Ginobili, Parker, Duncan. They had a chance to win a championship that year.
Yeah.
And you remember they were trailing in the fourth quarter. I believe the people in Miami at American Airlines Arena, they had closed off, the stadium, like, because they had the trophy presentation ready for the Spurs.
I remember that.
They had it ready.
Oh,
and
man.
you're right about Chris Bosh not getting enough credit for those 2 championships that Miami won, because everybody talking about Ray Allen's great shot that he hit, tied the game up and sent it to overtime.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for Chris Bosh's offensive rebound, Ray Allen don't get an opportunity to hit that shot.
Spurs coming to win that.
And I believe that was the greatest shot in NBA history that I've ever seen. Like, as great as Kyrie Irving's shot was in Game 7, as great as Kyrie Irving's shot was in Game 7, the 2016 NBA Finals, as great as MJ's shot was over Brian Russell in the Utah Jazz, I think Ray Allen's shot was greater than both of those.
Oh, wow.
The magnitude, if he missed the shot, the game's over, fellas. Like, come on. If Ray Allen missed, game over.
Okay, go ahead.
Spurs win the championship.
Okay.
Like, so I think when you talk about the magnitude, like, if Kyrie would have missed that shot against Golden State, I feel like the Cavs and the Warriors, they would have went to overtime. We don't know what would have happened. But I think
down 1, wasn't it?
No, it was tied. When Kyrie hit that shot over Steph, they were tied. So I think given the magnitude, that was the greatest shot in NBA history. Ray Allen hit that shot, but it doesn't happen without Chris Bosh. I want to stay on topic. It doesn't happen without Chris Bosh. And again, like he I think sometimes when players play with LeBron, even though when you play with LeBron, you have an opportunity to win a championship, you're not the same player that you were before you team up with LeBron. Because it happened to Chris Bosh and it happened to Kevin Love in Cleveland too. When Kevin Love went to Cleveland, I'm going to be honest, there were times when I used to watch Cavs games. I'm looking at Kyrie, I'm looking at LeBron ball out, and I see Kevin Love, and I'm like, whoa, he's just a good role player at this point.
That's how I viewed him as. Like, when Kyrie and LeBron was on their game, Kevin Love
was a good role player.
He wasn't even a Chris Bosh level. That's how
he wasn't.
That's how I looked, and like Chris Bosh was better than Kevin Love, man. And Kevin Love, man, Chris Bosh got more. You got more out of Bosh than Love. Like,
but I'm not gonna take nothing away from Kevin Love.
No,
I think Kevin
not
Love
at all.
could still play, and I think he had an important part in that Cavaliers championship.
Yeah,
he had an important part in that championship.
I think
after Kyrie hit his shot, if you remember, the Warriors were down by 3. So Steph and Klay trying to get a 3. Remember, but Kevin Love, I think down the stretch in that game, he played some great defense on Steph. He was out there fighting for his life. Like he wasn't trying to let Steph get off at all.
Hey, I know what you're talking about. He definitely was like, his ass was like focused on him.
Focused on Steph. Like Steph couldn't get a shot.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But
he closed out for him.
But like I said, I just think overall, this Brooklyn Nets victory, especially offensively, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this team as far as being able to score. Like the Golden State Warriors, as great as Golden State was, it was a lot of catch and shoot. Klay Thompson is a catch and shoot. He's not the kind of player that can create off the dribble like Kyrie Irving, like James Harden. Like James Harden and Kyrie Irving are 2 of the best scorers that have been able to create off the dribble. We haven't seen anything like the Brooklyn Nets team when it comes to from a scoring perspective. Kevin Durant, obviously 6'11" with a 7'5" wingspan. The most gifted player in NBA history, because we never seen anything like Kevin Durant. He moved. And I think when you talk about greatest scorers in NBA history, Kevin, at the shooting guard position, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, MJ, James Harden deserves to be in that conversation. James Harden is an incredible scorer. So I just think this Brooklyn Nets team, from a scoring perspective, is the greatest team I've ever seen assembled. And that's including the Golden State Warriors.
I like that. Assembled, though. But defensively, man, they getting killed. Look,
I'm talking about on offense.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, I played the Nets last night, man. My dude dropped a career high on them boys, man.
Yeah, me, you, and Asher, and Rick Carlisle go out there and score on that on the Nets team.
And Raquel probably had like 20 points.
For sure. This is just some boxing, something that we have been talking about for a while.
Floyd!
A few weeks ago, Logan Paul, he went the distance with Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather talking about Logan Paul, he said, quote, he's better than I thought he was. I was surprised by him tonight. Good work. Good little guy. So the fight between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, Clarence, do you think it was good or bad for boxing?
I think this was good. Well, it was good for boxing, though, because, it's the advertisements and, more business coming in, new endorsements coming out. So I think it was good for boxing. And I actually thought it was a good fight because Logan Paul threw some punches at Floyd, and I'm like, wow. He threw some punches at Floyd like that no regular boxer couldn't do. Yeah. So before, Floyd will be Floyd, he hit him and he actually punched him and he stumbled like, man, get up, man, get up. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but it was a good boxing fight though. Floyd, he always give you a show. And Logan Paul, he surprised me because he threw some punches that landed. It was like, wow, you hit Floyd? Like, because usually Floyd be dodging everybody punches. So if you had to ask me, this was a good boxing, right?
It was good for boxing, but Floyd not gonna fool me, Clarence. I think Floyd, he needed a payday. I don't know. I think he probably wanted to come up on some money, a quick paycheck. Like Floyd likes spending money. Because make no mistake about it. Like Floyd Mayweather likes spending money, and I think Floyd was thinking like, I need to go ahead and get into the ring and make a couple meals. You know what I mean?
I can do that, man.
to get things back right. Because when you live that kind of lifestyle, you used to a certain lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So Floyd feel like, hey, if I get in the ring, I'm not gonna lose. But he does, he's taking the possibility of losing a fight and diminishing his whole career if he loses. But I think in this fight, he knew exactly what he was doing. And like you said, I think he could have knocked out Logan Paul, but in order to keep the suspense in the fight, I think Floyd Mayweather, just let Logan Paul stay alive in this fight. And like you said, he punched him and he held him up like, nah, you can't fall. Because they trying to portray it like they actually real life out there boxing. Yeah. Like we know Floyd would demolish Logan Paul in his prime. Like, come on. And even though he's not even in his prime anymore, he still could have knocked Logan Paul out. He still could have. Now, I will admit, like I felt like, I didn't think Logan Paul did as good as who did he fight, man? I'm drawing a blank here.
It was Jake Paul fighting Nate Robinson.
No, not that one. I'm thinking about UFC. My guy, Conor McGregor. I thought Conor actually fought Floyd pretty tough when they fought each other, but I thought Conor got tired as that fight went along. Yeah. But overall, I just think the fight, it was okay for boxing, but Floyd didn't fool me. This was just a payday for him and just an opportunity to make some more money. And he just wanted to put on that image like it was a true fight, but we knew it really wasn't no true boxing match.
Yeah, I just think like Floyd, man, he's a brilliant guy that if you want to make some money, man, you gotta go fight Floyd or something. Yeah. Because he made sure he made sure Logan Paul was paid for. Oh, excuse me. And the thing is like Floyd is he's a moneymaker. He's the type of guy, he's gonna give you a show, he's gonna give his best, and he doesn't want to lose a fight because it will social media will destroy him. Destroy him. They were like 50-1, man, 51, like they would destroy him. But it was a good fight though, because although Logan Paul was like twice the size of Floyd, though, he gave it his all in that fight though.
What should Floyd do next?
He should do. First of all, you see Gervonta Davis knock out that one guy. Hit him in the stomach.
I see that.
That's why he got that money for real. He had to pay Gervonta Davis that bonus. Like TKO, I got your $5 million. Yeah. $5 million right here. Gervonta hit him in the stomach. He said, hey, Floyd, I need it. But I love what Floyd doing with coaching these young guys. So I love if you watch that fight last Saturday, I forgot the guy he was fighting though. He gave Gervonta Davis a pep rally talk like, get your head in the game, man. Yeah. You need to start landing those punches. And guess what? He started landing those punches. He knocked him down twice in the round. He knocked him down. It was basically a TKO. So I think Floyd needed to be take that training, being a trainer to another level because you're one of the greatest fighters of all time. Give some of that lesson to the people that you got in your camp, like Gervonta Davis. People call him the next Mike Tyson. So I think you need to invest into that And when he gets to a certain level, you need to find another young fighter and bring him on, and you mold him into yours. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely am impressed with Tank Davis, man.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with Tank Davis. I watched that fight, because I told you as I was watching that Suns Clippers game, I was so bored. Like, I mean, I was so bored. Like, I was looking for some more entertainment. And I actually thought what's his name? Mario Barros. I thought he fought, Tank pretty tough. And then at one point, they showed it. I think Floyd told Tank, like, hey, you might be losing on the scorecards. Like, you need to get it together. And you saw Tank turn up, as the fight went along, and he took it up a notch. And I think that's why he got the victory. Shout out to Tank, man. Like, he put on the show in Atlanta on Saturday night at State Farm Arena, in front of a bunch of fans of his. He's a young, up-and-coming fighter, in boxing. We want to be able to see boxers, box at a high level. And I think Tank is one of those fighters, we have something to look forward to as he gets older and, gets more in his prime. Because I think he still has room to grow.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of the next big fighters, a superstar boxer and an upcoming. So we're going to see more from him, Trey.
For sure. Let's transition back to some NBA as we got old faces back in old places. Let's start off with Rick Carlisle has agreed on a new contract to become the new head coach of the Indiana Pacers. It's a 4-year, $29 million deal. So let's start off with the Pacers, Clarence, bringing in Rick Carlisle as their new head coach. What do you make of this move for the Pacers?
I'm looking at you like, he's not for the Pacers. I don't want to go play for the Pacers. But I think this move, though, Trey, this move was the best move that they made since what's the guy name? The Lakers head coach?
Frank.
I think
Vogel.
this is the best coach since Frank Vogel, in my opinion. I think he's going to be his impact to the Pacers organization is going to be very important and prestigious because he won the championship game, so they expect him to bring a championship experience over there to Indiana.
Yeah.
And I think that like this is a challenge that he need to take on because we see the NBA is evolving. You see it's a new era stepping in, and this is a good opportunity for him to build to like recreate his coaching year and bring in some key superstars and trying to win a championship.
Yeah.
I think this is like that window is open for him, especially for the Pacers because they ain't win no playoff game in how long, man? Like what, 3 years, man? Like so they in a situation like they're hungry. They're hungry. They want to go far into the playoffs. And I believe with this type of roster they got right now, they missing like a superstar that can get them over that hump. If Rick Carlisle, if they buy into his plan, I think Rick Carlisle can build something special in the Pacers organization. So I think this was a good move for them. Better than their last few moves. Shout out to Nick McMillan and stuff. He's doing his thing in Atlanta though, but Rick Carlisle, I think he's gonna bring more to it because he has a championship experience.
Yeah, I think the Pacers hiring Rick Carlisle was a good hire for the Indiana Pacers, considering the fact that Rick Carlisle, he has some familiarity with the Pacers organization, Clarence. Back in 1997 through 2000, he was the assistant coach for the Indiana Pacers. Looks like he was an assistant coach under Larry Bird. So during his time as Pacers assistant coach, he helped lead the Pacers to their best seasons ever. I think this was in the Reggie Miller era. So Reggie Miller was on, a few of those teams that Rick Carlisle coached on, so I think this was a great hire for the Indiana Pacers. But when I look at their team overall, you got, Sabonis, who's a young and up-and-coming star in the NBA. You brought in Karis LeVert. I think Karis LeVert, was one of the most improved players, from the last 2 years. He's really played at a high level. And I think he's one of those players that could be a great role player, if not possibly a star, to build a team around. Like, I'm very impressed with Karis LeVert. You remember last year in the bubble, no Kyrie, no Kevin Durant, and he was balling. Karis LeVert was playing at a high level. You still got Malcolm Brogdon. You still got Miles Turner. TJ Warren, he's going to come back healthy. So when I look, what are you looking at TJ Warren?
Man, he was a bubble hero, man.
He was a bubble hero, similar to Tyler Hero from Miami. But, I think we look at this Indiana Pacers team, they're a team that can get to the second round of the playoffs, but they're not a team that's going to be a true championship contender, Clarence, because Indiana isn't a place where free agents want to go and play at. So I think it's you can only expect so much of the Indiana Pacers. They're one of those teams that they're kind of a victim of their own success. And I'm explaining. Like, basically, they're one of those teams, they're not bad, but they're not great because they're not a destination that free agents want to go and play at. So they win games, they get to the postseason, but so they kind of knock themselves out of a chance at a top 5 draft pick because they always get to the postseason. They always, in the playoffs, but they're not a team that a free agent who's a superstar is going to say, hey, I want to go to Indiana to play. No one's saying that.
Let me ask you this.
It's too cold. No one wants to go to Indiana
Let
to
me
play.
ask you this. If do you believe that, we heard Damian Lillard, he's supposed to request a trade. We're going to get into that like later on through the week though.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the Indiana Pacers should spark a trade to the Portland Trailblazers to get Damian Lillard?
Well, the thing is, you got to take consideration whether or not Dame will resign, with the Indiana Pacers once his contract is up.
Imagine if his contract was up or he decided he wanted to request a trade.
Yeah, if he requested a trade, he don't want to go to Indiana. But even if he did, the Pacers got to take into consideration, what are we going to give up for Dame? Because if we give up all this for Dame and he leaves, then it's irrelevant. Like, it's pointless. At that point, you're the Pacers. You have to be like cognizant of what kind of team you are and what kind of franchise you are. This is not a team where, again, free agents are lining up to go play at. So you have to be a team where you draft well, and they do that for the most part well. Like, they draft well, Clarence.
Yeah, they do.
They draft well.
I like Miles Turner.
I like, them trading. They did trade for Sabonis.
Yeah.
So they're a team that have to build their team, through the draft and through trades.
All right. Let's switch to the Dallas Mavericks. Last Saturday, they finalized the deal with Jason Kidd to become the new head coach, which I actually called it out and said Jason Kidd is the next head coach. If you watch all the other Wise Guys episodes, I've been saying Jason Kidd is the next head coach, but he's began assembling a coaching staff as he become the next head coach in Dallas. So let me ask you this, Trey. Jason Kidd, he won a championship with Rick Carlisle, and he's been around the coaching for like a quite few years. So do you honestly believe Jason Kidd is the right head coach for Luka Doncic?
I think he is the right coach for Luka Doncic and this Dallas Mavericks team because, I think Jason Kidd, he, again, just like Rick Carlisle, he has connections in this Dallas Mavericks organization. Mm-hmm. And Rick Carlisle, on his way out of Dallas, he gave a nice endorsement for Jason Kidd.
I agree.
He told Mark Cuban, hey, you got to hire Jason Kidd. And I think that's why you saw Jason Kidd take his self out of as a candidate for the Portland Trailblazers job. Jason Kidd knew that the Dallas Mavericks job was going to open up. And so, I think it's a great hire for Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic, bringing in Jason Kidd, a player who is one of the greatest point guards in NBA history.
Really is.
Yeah, and I think that you bring him and you partner him up with Luka Doncic. I think Luka Doncic and Jason Kidd will have one of the best relationships in the NBA. And I think it's going to lead to success for the Dallas Mavericks as an overall franchise because I don't think there was another candidate out there that you could have partnered with Luka Doncic, in order to have success. I think this was the best candidate for the job. So I like Jason Kidd for the Dallas Mavericks.
And think about it, too. Jason Kidd impacted a lot of players. Remember, he was the coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. I was so excited at the time, but then they fired him. But people fail to realize Jason Kidd basically said, give the ball to Giannis, let him work. He brought out the potential out of Giannis. And I think this is the perfect relationship match for each other. Can you imagine coming to coach in Dallas to coach a superstar like Luka Doncic? I think them two go compare together. I think they will have the best relationship because Jason Kidd knows the role of a point guard. He kind of sees Luka in him because the way how he get his team involved and he scores at the same time. Now defensive, that's kind of iffy because Kidd was a good steal. He can steal the ball. But Luka, this gonna be a no-brainer for him. We got someone that's a young coach that's building up, and they can build together. And they're building this team. Them two right there, they're gonna be business partners, man. If you ask me.
And I initially thought that Jason Kidd was going to get the Lakers job before they signed Frank Vogel. It was supposed to be Jason Kidd, but it was a lot of rumors coming up about Jason Kidd's checkered past. A whole bunch of stuff that don't matter no more. That leads me one more thing I want to say before we got here, Clarence, because you saw the Blazers. They brought in Chauncey Billups on a new 5-year deal to become their head coach. So you're hearing all these rumblings about Chauncey Billups in his past, listen, I need a lot of these people out there to stop hating on Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd. You're hearing all these rumblings of things that happened back in 1997 about Chauncey Billups and these sexual allegations and all this. I'm not saying that it wasn't significant, but guess what? He's moved on from it. And let's judge these coaches, on where they're at currently in their life. Like Jason Kidd, people were talking about his checker pass. I think he had like a domestic violence incident like 15, 20 years ago.
Like, really?
It's old. Let it go. Let's move on from that. He's been happily married for over 10 years. Like Jason Kidd has moved on, from that part in his life. I'm not back to talk about the situation or what happened. Let's judge these coaches on where they are currently now. Let's stop going back in 1995 and bringing up what they did back in the 90s, okay? Like, we got a whole new Space Jam movie about to come out with LeBron. Back in the 90s, that's when the first Space Jam movie came out with MJ. We live in America, the land of second chances. Let's give these guys second chances. And even with the situations that happen, we don't know all the details. We don't really know. Like, all this speculation and saying they don't deserve these jobs because of their past, I think it's ridiculous.
They only read the title.
They only read the title, and it's insane. And I'm just tired of it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this before we leave out. What is the next move for Dallas Mavericks?
They got to trade Kristaps Porzingis, and they got to find a second star to pair up with Luka Doncic. Like, if I was the Dallas Mavericks, I would be on the phone with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I would try to get Karl-Anthony Towns to Dallas. I think he would be a nice fit with Luka Doncic, because Kristaps Porzingis is not the same player that he once was, Clarence. And I think his work ethic, for whatever reason, is not the same as it was before he got his money. Because at one point, I was comparing Kristaps Porzingis to Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis. I mean, he was playing at a high level at one point in New York. Even Melo was speaking up for Kristaps. You remember?
Yeah.
Like, he was talking about how he was the face of the franchise for the Knicks. I'm not sold on Kristaps Porzingis as being a consistent second star that you compare with Luka Doncic and expect to win a championship. So I think they need to put Kristaps Porzingis on the trade market, and they need to bring in a second star who can provide, for the Dallas Mavericks and help them get to a championship with Luka Doncic as their first overall star. So you got to bring somebody in.
Yeah, like you got to get rid of Porzingis, like, I was having like a little debate with my good friend, my good guy Devin. He's a good family of mine, and he's tagged me in a video how Porzingis' game is pick and pocket three. Because if you watch the video, Trey, I'm gonna share it to you later on.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time Luka was calling a screen from Porzingis, like Porzingis was never rolling. He was popping out. They would double team him. Yeah. And I was arguing with him like, that's his problem right there. First of all, he's always hurt, so he can't move how he want to move. And second, he's settling for shots knowing that they're going to double team Luka. You're not rolling. So Luka, first instinct, I thought you would have rolled. I would have threw it to you, but he didn't. He's picking pocket. So I think that you can't count on him. You can't count on him a lot because he's always hurt. And you don't get enough production out of him. So it's the best if you do move on. Jason Kidd, find another person to pair up with Luka Johnson. I think Karl-Anthony Towns will be perfect though. But I've also been hearing the Minnesota Timberwolves want Ben Simmons. So Cat might be staying for a while. It all depends how that goes. But Karl-Anthony Towns will be the best decision. Best pairing up with Luka Doncic because he's a stretch five. And he can play both sides of the ball and a tremendous shooter and a double machine. Yeah. I think them two right there will make magic. D'Angelo Russell, that little
pairing.
Yeah, the little pairing and that little thing. It wasn't working out though, because injuries happen though. But this right here, Luka and Karl-Anthony Towns, they should make that happen right now.
Nice. That's my suggestion for
Mark Cuban
and the Dallas Mavericks and Jason Kidd. Get on the phone right now with the Minnesota Timberwolves and find a way to get Karl-Anthony Towns to Dallas because Kristaps Porzingis just isn't getting the job done. He's 7'3", shooting threes. Get down in the low post and do work. Exactly. Kristaps, he's 7'3". Like, come on, like, what are we doing here? Like, I just didn't like what I saw from Kristaps. And again, he has great potential, but he just hasn't lived up to that potential, Clarence, since he's been in New York, quite frankly. He just hasn't been the same player.
He's always hurt, right?
Hurt. Durability is an issue for him as well.
He's always hurt. Like, you can't depend on him just to give you 25 and 12 when you're hurt.
Right. Everybody remember going to follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Clarence, great show. We'll be back on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on the Worldwide Sports Network. I'm Trey Larkins.
Yeah, it's boy Clarence Nixon, man. Make sure y'all tune in Wednesday.
Hold on, real quick, before we go. Give everybody a shout out to your fantasy league.
Oh yeah,
We gotta do this.
Hey y'all,
I forgot.
Yeah, listen, y'all.
Yeah.
Hey man, I got a new fantasy league going on. It's called Jado the Sports Guy. That's my new sports name, y'all. Jado the Sports Guy Fantasy League Challenge. I have a lot of games that's in 10-man and 12-man game. If you are interested in playing in this fantasy, you can win you some cash. And let me tell you how the rules go. You send me your cash and I hold on to it to the season. If you win the championship game and your fantasy, I'll send you your cut. I'm gonna send you a cut. But I'm telling you guys now, the slots are still available. You guys should get in right now because this is fun. And hey, Mr. Larkins in here, everybody in the worldwide, even the Wise Guys community. If you guys are listening right now, y'all need to jump on this fantasy right now and get it going, man.
Everybody have a great night. Enjoy the Western Conference Finals between the Clippers and Suns Game 5